Hey there, Captains. It's Reem again with the 10th episode of Thank GAR It's Friday, and we'll be branching out a little bit from GAR today as we talk about Rapid Reinforcements 2. It's been out for a little bit now. I've had some time to think about it. Some rules clarifications have been posted, so I think we're in a good place to kind of cover it, although a lot of other people have already stated opinions, and I agree with a lot of what other people are saying, like Command Stack and the Armada podcast. So you'll probably get the same kind of themes here, but I thought it was fair to give my opinion as well, and I will give an example Anakin Fleet as well that I have messed with at the end. So we'll start here from, we'll avoid the Anakin till the end. So we'll start here at Matchstick. We talked about him a bit the last episode, so I'll be fairly brief on him. Basically, you have a distance 1 bubble. Squads with bomber gain rogue, so it's a good way to get rogue in the GAR faction. It is conditioned that Matchstick has to be unengaged, and you do lose it if you lose that bubble. Overall, the ability's kind of nice. I don't think you should build around it. You shouldn't be building Matchstick to push 40, 60 points of bombers along with himself, because I think that's going to be too easy to shut down. But for 14 points, it's going to fit in really nice in the GAR faction. Usually if you brought like Kickback, Axe, Anakin, Ahsoka, and you tried to fill it out with Y-Wings, you'd be like 135. So I think you just swap Kickback for Matchstick in that squad ball, and you'll be just under. I think it'll work out really well. All in all, 14 points for double brace. Pretty solid. I think you'll see him in both casual and even competitive. Wat Tambor is what we have for the Separatist Squadron in the Belbalub. No keywords, has escort, or no special ability, 3 keywords though. Has escort, relay, and screen. 20 points with a brace and evade. I don't think it's everything that Separatists were looking for. Definitely helps. Screen is very situational. If they're rolling red dice, it could hurt you. If they're rolling blue dice, it's another coin flip. If it's black dice, it's not a very good chance to help you with screen, but every little bit helps. So there's that. It will help keep squishier squads alive for an extra turn. They won't be able to alpha strike and kill like 4 or 5 vultures if they have to burn through Wat Tambor first. I haven't heard anybody mention it, at least on any of the other podcasts or videos I've watched, but I think he should pair him and the Tri-Fighter Ace. One of the prototypes, not the sniping one. The one that makes it so that if you end your activation next to him, you suffer a damage. I think that Ace and Wat Tambor should go really well together because the escort makes it so you can't shoot them. You're just doing automatic free damage as well. We'll compete with the officer slot, but I think if you are running Separatist squads, Wat Tambor is probably going to be in there. It'll remain to see if that makes Separatist squads competitive or not. Because currently I don't think there's any successful list that's done really, really well. But maybe somebody will master it, and Wat Tambor was the missing piece. Next we have Fen Rao for the Rebels and Gauntlet Fighter. Gauntlet Fighter is a little less well known, so just covering it: speed 4, 7 hull, double blue and a red anti-squad, and a blue-black anti-ship dice. His ability is when you are chosen to activate by a squad command after activation is resolved, choose up to 2 non-unique squadrons at distance 1. The chosen squads may activate as if they are chosen by the squad command. It has assault and escort, 1 brace token, and 24 points. The assault could be niche. I think if you're doing casual things, like you could see it pairing with like Captain Rex, or maybe there's someone who's ready to crack the code on Captain Rex in a little bit of raid. I don't know. Escort, I think, is good on this, or good for the balance of this, I should say, because It stops you from hiding him behind an escort ball. Like if you had like a bunch of X-Wings, Fen without escort would be untargetable and be kind of annoying. So it does give the opponent some options to shut down the extra um, squads that you're going to get to command. So good balance in that. And then also the person running Fen is helped out by the fact that if you're playing Hera, you do get that free reroll, which you will probably need because this two blue and a red with no reroll isn't the most consistent damage output. As far as the ability, that's why he costs 24 points. Probably worth it. It's a way to make rebels have greater reach and the ability to command squads. As someone who started in GAR, I do love rebel squads, but I always struggled switching from a Venator II to what the rebel lineup is for squads. It's like an MC80 is the closest you can get, and that has its own issues with speed and such. So I think that Fen, especially since he passes off like flight controllers, all that, all the things that the ship has, is going to be a great addition for Rebels. I think players that can master the little bit of finickiness in the fact that Fen has to land, or after Fen is done activating, that's when he chooses the two non-unique squads. It's going to be really hard. You just can't throw Fen into the ball and then have two other things catch up to him. So there is going to be a little bit of finesse there. I'm sure people are going to try and mess with Adar Talon. I think that's going to be uh, potentially a bit too much to try and do, like too gimmicky, I'll say, too easily shut down. But I'm excited to see what he can do for Rebels. I think he's pretty well balanced in just a little bit of limitations in his ability. The fact that he has escort and he comes in at 24 points. Building lists with Fen definitely has issues because at 24 points, it is really good, but it is a high cost to eat. But overall, great. I expect to see him in both competitive and casual. Next squad we have is Vault, a TIE Interceptor Squadron. 2 blue, 2 black, anti-squad, a blue anti-ship, 3 hull, 5 speed. During the squadron phase, you cannot make non-counter attacks, so if you want to use that 2 blue, 2 black, you will need to be activated before the squadron phase. Counter 4, which is the big standout here, and then Swarm. At 18 points with a scatter and an evade. I think Vault is destined more for the casual role. I think Empire already has, or Imperial has a lot of really good squadrons. And at 18 points, if he was like 14, I could see him used more often because he's like cheaper than like Sienna, stuff like that. But at 18 points without the brace, I mean, you can get one shot by Anakin really easy. This is a big problem, right? Like Anakin rolls up and he rolls an accuracy and 3 damage. You just die. It doesn't matter about the evade at all. I mean, you die with a brace too, but that's the problem. For 18 points, EEEs can die situationally too good. Counter 4 is really good. Can kind of act like Shara in the fact if you can just throw it into a ball, and if they roll poorly on dice and don't get the accuracy, and they take like 3 or 4 generic squads to like kill Volt, you're probably gonna get your money's worth or some value out of it. But I can see him being one shot by several aces, in which case the 18 points probably isn't worth it, even if you do have Hera and Instructor Gorin and I think what is it, Dingar, to get like 7 counter. That seems a little bit too gimmicky to be consistent for like a really competitive scene. But maybe someone will figure out how to really unlock them and be really annoying with them. But just dies too easily to Flak, I think, and can get picked off by a number of aces. The counter 4, it really depends how many attacks he gets to use that counter 4 on. All right. moving up into the non-squadron row, we have Governor Price, the one that was spoiled, so people have been talking about for a while. Once per activation, while performing an attack against an enemy ship, you may spend 1 shield from the attacking hull zone to change 1 die to any result. 7 points. Officer slot. Governor Price, I think, is fine. It will make onagers potentially more annoying for smalls. Personally, I always feared onagers that had intelligence officer because I was running a lot of ECMs on my larges, like my Venator IIs, and intelligence officer on your brace really hurt. If you're running larges, I don't think Governor Price is terrible for you compared to what the Empire already had. If you're flying like CR90 swarms, I think it makes it so that they have a higher chance onagers of one-shotting like CR90s and flotillas and such. It is balanced out by the fact that you have to spend a shield from the hull zone you're shooting from to do it. It's not a huge cost, and people are saying, you just have an interdictor, you just have a token, or you just have a dial to make sure that you get that shield. That's all true, but it's just one more piece of the puzzle. It's one more thing that can be disrupted, potentially. So I'm fine with it. It'll hurt smalls, especially. Otherwise, it just gives them more dice fixing. They had plenty of dice fixing already. So smalls are going to probably suffer the most from this, but I don't think it'll be oppressive. Asajj Ventress, the CIS officer. After you perform an attack targeting a ship that has 1 or more raid tokens, if the defender suffered 1 or more damage, you may remove 1 raid token and 1 command token from the defender. If you do, gain a matching command token. For 4 points. Officer slot. I don't think this will be especially good. A really good Dooku player might be able to unlock this card, but I see it. The main problem with this is it's too situational. At best, in the ideal world, I can see it like you remove like a key token, like a token that they're going to refresh SFAT with, or a token that they're going to use to refresh ECM, or a token they are going to use to trigger engine techs, something along that, or those lines. But just very niche. Sometimes you'll run into fleets that they don't have anything that really needs tokens. So then Asajj really isn't doing anything for you. I think of it a lot of the same as, I believe it's ion batteries, which is a 5-point ion cannon upgrade that's just like blue crit, they lose a token or lose a shield. It's fine, but you don't ever really see it because it's kind of niche. It doesn't, like that card, if they don't have shields and they don't have tokens, it doesn't do anything. Same with Asajj. If they don't have a reason for the token, it doesn't really matter that you steal it. And she has a lot more conditions. You have to be in range. They have to have a raid token. They have to have a command token that you are going to benefit from stealing or hurt them from stealing. You have to do damage. I don't see it being super consistent. I guess if you were running a Dooku fleet already and you had a battle fit hard sell, throw Asajj on there. If you had 4 points, maybe she'll do something. I don't know. I don't play enough Separatists to really say I don't play enough Dooku. I do like Dooku, but I don't think this will be especially effective. Fun to play, very thematic. It's nice seeing Asajj into the Separatist faction. I just don't think it'll be that competitive at all. General Draven. Choose 2 command dials for this card after deploying fleets. At the start of each ship phase, you can reveal and discard 1 command dial from this card. If you do, until the end of the round, when an enemy ship spends a matching command dial, it resolves that token as though it spent a token of the same type. And it has been clarified that if you spend a dial and a token, General Draven turns your dial into a token effect, and then you resolve 2 token effects. In which case, that makes General Draven not as good as a lot of people were hoping before that rules clarification. I believe a bunch of other commanders kind of get around him as well, like Pursuant, and I think Trench gets around him. And for 28 points. And it's only 2 rounds. At best case, you're going to get around, you're going to hurt squad-based fleets the most with this, like Sloanes, anything that's trying to command like 8 squads, 10 squads. I'd say 8 squads plus, and squads are going to be the damage source for their fleet. General Draven is probably a good option because you can turn that 8 activation push down to 2 or 4, depending on how many squads they had pushing, or how many ships they had pushing squads, and if they had tokens or not. Best use. I don't think it'll really hurt engineering. I don't think it'll really hurt Confire. They don't get to add the dice, but the rerolls are fine. And repair, things that are really going to be repairing, it's just like, if I have 2 tokens, it's the same as a dial. Like interdictors, peltas, all the things that are really repairing, really supporting by the repair are going to have the token. I don't think it's going to affect that much. 28 points as well. If it was, I think as other people have mentioned, if they were like 20 points competing with Agate as just a cheat commander, people would be more willing to try Draven. But as he stands now, I think he'll make some appearances, but I don't know how effective that's going to be. At best, squad fleets are going to be hurt, and I guess if there's fleets that need to like nav every round, which maybe we'll be getting to here, might be hurt by him. All right, then we're going to go to Anakin Skywalker, Commander for the Republic. While a friendly ship performs a salvo attack, it may add 1 die to its attack pool of a color already in its attack pool. That would have been a fine, like 24, 26 point commander. But then we add once per activation, after a friendly ship performs an attack that targets an enemy ship, that friendly ship may spend 1 salvo defense token if it does, and may perform a salvo attack targeting the same enemy ship. And it has been rules clarified. The rules have been clarified so that if you salvo defensively, like someone shoots you and you salvo, if you have a second salvo token after you resolve your salvo attack, you've made an attack, so you can flip your other salvo token to salvo again. I think that's the main problem that we're having with Anakin here is for 29 points, he's adding a lot of extra dice because he's adding a lot of extra attacks. I've played him once. He was quite effective, and I haven't really played him since. I think he's going to be really popular at least throughout the summer. If the community finds a way to counter him and he isn't like winning a bunch of tournaments, he might stay as he is. If he becomes oppressive at tournaments and you see Anakin's in the top 1, 2, 3 of tournaments, or top like 2 spots in tournaments, I think you're gonna either see a points bump or a rules change so it's only his ship. Something along those lines, or just make it so it's like an advanced gunnery shot. Just as he is, I think he's too cheap for as they are currently ruling him. I mean, even if it was just like you got to do the 3rd attack on your activation, he's cheaper than Akbar, right? Or better than Akbar, because you would shoot out your front, you shoot out your side, and then you'd salvo for that third attack, which is like 4 dice on a Venator. And that's a whole extra attack that's 4 extra dice if it's in close range. Or medium range if you have Flak Guns. That's 4 whole extra dice on a separate attack. So you stress the defense tokens more, you're adding more dice than an Akbar would, and that's not even getting into the whole salvoing twice during when someone else shoots you. I think smalls are going to be quite heavily under threat from Anakin, like CR90s, gladiators that want to come in. Like if you get double salvoed as a gladiator, you're going to be really limping away to even like the next round. Like especially if like the DBY build, um, it's just so much guaranteed damage. It's not hard to say you're going to take like 4 to 5 damage on each of those 2 shots, on top of any other chip damage that might have been shot at you as you were coming in, or during that round, or after you activate. Yeah, I think he's going to be oppressive. Definitely don't, if you're teaching new players. I think Ken from Ion Radio said, like, someone on the command stack said, like, don't run Anakin Skywalker if you're introducing new players. He just changes the fundamental damage output that you can expect of a base ship quite dramatically. That it kind of skews what a normal game of Armada is. Like I've been playing a lot of the Bale lists with like SFATs or a SFAT, and then like boarding troopers and some external racks. And in tournaments, it's been working out really good because you have like one good round of bursts. You got the boarding troopers, you got the external racks. I killed an SSD in like 1 round, 2 rounds, round and a half. A lot of burst damage, really good. Anakin, you don't need the SFAT, you don't need the external racks. You just get Flak Guns cheap, which is a cheap upgrade. You get DBY, which is a cheap upgrade, and you can just melt through ships. The only downside of Anakin is I think he'll be squad light in most of his fleets, or he'll have like the core aces of like Ahsoka, Kickback, Axe, and like a generic torrent. However, I think to make most use out of Anakin, GAR fleets generally aren't that mobile, so he'll need nav commands. So General Draven might work against Anakin, just because when I flew Anakin, all my Venators were like navving every single round. Unless you're fighting like a couple of, or an enemy fleet that's a couple of largest. If your enemy fleet's a bunch of smalls, you're gonna need the nav every round just to try and keep in range and on target and try and get both of your arcs working effectively. And that's another reason I think you'll have trouble with squads is he'll have to have at least one turn where Venator's doing squadron to effectively use them, and that means he's not navving. So that means he's maybe not setting up the double arc. And then if Anakin doesn't get the double arc, it's not quite as effective as you'd want it to be. If you do fight Anakin, avoid double arcs. Kill his ship. You just have to dive whatever ship Anakin's on, and it just becomes a game of if you can kill Anakin's flagship before he just dumps a bunch of damage on you. That's basically what I think it's going to come down to. So he's probably good. I don't see myself playing him that often. Like I said, I played him once, and I'm like, I kind of see what he does. I still kind of like my guy Bale, so we'll see. We'll see. But personally, I get the appeal. I think he's a little bit too strong or too undercosted. I think he'll be corrected or adjusted in some fashion. It'll remain to be seen. Maybe the community will just find a way around him and he won't be that oppressive. We'll see. On that note, I would like to share the Anakin fleet I did create because I missed last week and I said I was going to do rapid reinforcements then and then I was going to start fleets. So I thought we'll cover a fleet this week and kind of make up for it. So here's the Anakin list that I had. It's very similar to a Bale list that I had a while back. I just swapped Anakin for Bale. Go ahead and give this a try. I had quite good success with it. Completely squadless, but we'll get into it. So we throw Anakin on a Venator II, clone Captain Zak, boarding troopers, thermal shields, external racks, linked turbolaser towers, and Tranquility title. So Anakin, you just throw at the enemy. You're going to have one round where if you're fighting an enemy large or medium, it's just going to blow up. External racks, Anakin's ability, clone Captain Zak, thermal shields to keep you safe. If you're fighting an ISD2, you just, thermal shields all their reds. You're taking at most 4 damage and you're blowing them up. Super effective all by itself. Supporting this, though, we have a Venator I with Intel Officer, local fire control, Intensify Firepower, Flak Guns, external racks, and the DBY Heavy Turbolasers. So this is a follow-up finisher. Comes in behind Anakin's flagship. And does some dice fixing with the Intensify. This is the one that has the double salvo. So you can really punch out there with that. We have the Flak Guns on it, external racks as well, and the DBY to make those salvos hurt even more. You will note I don't have local fire control here. I actually don't think you need to run the double salvo build. I think you're probably just fine having the one salvo and just getting that extra attack every round, and there's nothing your opponent can do about it. We will see. It worked well for me. Well, along with these Venators, we have 2 Peltas. We have a Pelta, both transports. We have one with Hondo, Projection Experts, Parts Resupply, Reactive Gunnery in the TB73 title. And then the other one has Projection Experts, Munitions Resupply, Reactive Gunnery. So we have ways to just get a little bit of shields back. Also power your Projection Experts with the Part Resupply. We have Hondo for any tokens that you may need, if you just need to grab a token for boarding troopers. And then Munitions Resupply, like I said, for Intensify and just generic dice fixing. We grabbed the TB73 title here, just to make this Pelta harder to kill and to give it an extra defense token to use with Reactive Gunnery. Reactive Gunnery, I think, is actually pretty funny on these Peltas with Anakin, because your reds, you have 3 red dice. If you're salvoing a squad, it's a blue and 2 black. It makes shooting the Peltas annoying. Because I think if you have this here, these 2 Venators, you're going to have some players that are going to try and avoid the Venators and pick off your Peltas. Well, that makes it so that, if there's a wounded CR90, the Pelta isn't a free, easy kill anymore, because all of a sudden, the Pelta is throwing back 3 red at you. Intensify Firepower is making sure there's at least 1 hit. So, it's going to be rough. These Peltas, I fought Separatists in the list I did. The Munificents didn't really have any good targets. They didn't want to shoot the Venators. They didn't want to shoot the Peltas. It was just kind of a nightmare. So really good reactive gunnery with Anakin on the Peltas. Really good. As far as objectives, I went surprise attack. Anakin, like I said, GAR nav is kind of weak, so surprise attack. You know at least where one enemy ship is, and you can do nav raid to make it annoying to effectively maneuver or be extra squirrely. Fleet and Beam, it gives you a way to refresh defense tokens. Great for salvos. Great for your thermal shields. 15 points if you end up just not needing it, or all of them. And then Solar Corona helps fix the navigation problem in the fact that you get to know where everything goes down for your opponent, and then you get to choose how you want to attack it. Also preventing or helping get rid of accuracies that will lock down your salvos. Great. Biggest threat I see, especially to this kind of Anakin list, is Sloanless, Rogue 134, other heavy bombing squad fleets. If the squads are commanded by a carrier, obviously you just send the Venator speed 3 at the carrier and kill it up, or kill the carrier before it can command for more than a round or two, if at all possible. If it's rogues, just get to flacking. Your salvos are actually pretty decent. Don't be afraid to pick off key squadrons. You have LTT here. If you salvo, it's 3. It'd be interesting to try it. I think you would suffer from the fact that if the rogues start to get low, they'll just run away from you. So you might not kill that many rogue in a 134, but you'll at least like stop them from killing your ships because you'll threaten them off. You'll get them down to like 2 hull relatively quick, and then they'll either have to make the decision of staying to try and get another chip damage in, or saving the like 14 points or 15 points that a YT-2400 is. Anyway, this is just what I've come up with. I think the double Venator, double Pelta archetype is going to continue quite strong with Anakin. And this is my quick take on it. I'll post it below so that you can see it in text form. But otherwise, next time I think we're going to talk about a tournament list that I ran for Hoth, and then after that we'll just maybe talk about other GAR lists or see what else is happening in the world of GAR at that point. But until then, you all take care of yourselves.